Hey everybody, welcome to the Church Tech.Live podcast. My name is Michael and this is Phil. This is a show by church tech guys for tech guys. We're going to be posting about once a month to hopefully help you guys out, share our thoughts, and also hear back from you and answer some questions. Again, my name is Michael. I'm a tech director here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Phil, you're based out of Virginia, right?
Yeah, I'm in Lynchburg, Virginia. Man, I'm excited to be doing this. I'm excited that this is, our first podcast. We've been talking about this for a while. And now to see it come to fruition, that's kind of a cool thing. So we've been talking about it for a while to just kind of set some stuff up and set the groundwork for just kind of building a community where we're not just doing this for the church tech world, but also others that might be inside the tech industry that just don't have any type of resources or any type of community. So to kind of let you build up a community that's around you. And we're wanting to talk about equipment and stuff that we do with equipment, how we work inside of our churches, but also more talking about the community struggles that we have with working inside the church world and working along with volunteers and stuff, but also just kind of building support for each other. So it's real important to us that you participate with us in the comments section down below. Type in your feelings, your thoughts. We'll kind of get into some stuff in a few minutes, but, kind of what are some of your struggles? What are some stuff that you would love for some people to talk about, where you might think that you're alone in this? You might say, I'm the only one that deals with this. Put that type of stuff down in the comments section and kind of take a look to see the responses that are down there and stay connected with it, because I guarantee you're not alone. And we might even see it. We might do an entire show on a podcast on your comment that you make. So you might be able to help shape the direction that we head at. So
why don't you open us with our Bible verse for the day? What do we got?
Man, that's great. And I've got just the one for us. So it's found in Ephesians 2:15. It just says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. And I think that's so important in our day and age, not just for ministers and preachers, but also for people that are volunteering inside of the church, but also people that are just on staff at a church, and everybody, really.
Yeah, I want to speak on that for a minute. It is very easy to feel left out of ministry while working in the tech department at a church. You're not on stage, you're not preaching, you're not singing, you're not having solos. I play guitar, you're not playing, you play drums, you're not playing an instrument on stage where people can see you. And it can feel very isolating, especially some of the departments like working camera, working lighting, that kind of thing. And I just want to encourage all of you, whether you're a tech that's paid or on a volunteer, that it is just as important for you to worship through this and to view this as a ministry, because if your heart isn't there, then your whole ministry will suffer.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you brought that subject up. Dealing with people. I know when I was growing up kind of in the church world, I was very introverted. I was not, your party guy that ran around and, was the life of the party and all that type of stuff. I like to sit in the corner, and I actually still do. Whenever I walked into rooms, I always find the chair in the very back of the room. And I normally find that a lot of tech guys, a lot of the guys that are working alongside of me, they kind of have that same personality. They like to kind of be withdrawn a little bit and back over into the corners. Phenomenal workers. They love to get involved. They love to be involved with what's going on. They're very passionate about what they do, and they're very dedicated to what they do, but they're just very standoffish. And a lot of times I'll just kind of walk up to them and try to engage them in conversations and talk to find out. I've got a story. I always like to kind of say stuff that's a little ironic to just try to make people think from time to time, or, kind of break up the, how are you? Fine. Oh, good. And, you just kind of move on. So one of the guys came in and he asked me, or he was just sitting there and he wasn't really talking very much. So I walked up and I was like, hey, how are you doing today? My name's Phil. And he was like today or just in general? And it took me back for a second, because I've never had somebody respond like that before. And I was like, well, today and in general. He was like, I don't know. I got to think about that. So now, great worker with us, volunteers, worked with him for a long time. And just a great guy, but that was my introduction to him, and I've kind of kept that in the back of my mind. Sometimes just engaging with people, just kind of coming alongside, talking with them, that just kind of brightens their day, because a lot of times they're standoffish, but they don't necessarily want to be the life of the party, but at the same time, they also don't want to be the center of attention either. They want to stay back. But a lot of times having that conversation is just a good thing. It kind of brightens them up because they're looking to connect.
Yeah, that's the thing about introverts, right? I'm a closet introvert that, I appear extroverted, but I'm really not. And,
yeah, you are.
and my wife is an incredibly solid introvert. And so she hates talking to people. She loves being in the back. And she is not going to, talk to somebody in a Sunday school class or, be a greeter at the front door. And so someone like her, tech is perfect for her. And it's become very obvious to me that the tech ministry is for volunteers that really wouldn't fit into any other volunteer role. If they were a greeter working in the kids department or doing announcements on stage or something like that, they would just feel incredibly uncomfortable. I'm sure a lot of you feel that way. And so, being in the tech director role as their leader, I feel like it's our responsibility to be a friend to them, a mentor to them, but also more importantly, provide the spiritual leadership part of that, because they're not going to necessarily seek that out from another ministry area. You know what I mean? And so this is just as important, even though it's pointing a camera or pushing up a fader or something like that. This community that humans need, that God designs us for, is now suddenly going to be fulfilled by the tech department. And so your job as the leader is to lead them in that.
Now, I can honestly say, we've known each other for over 10 years now, which is crazy to me. Maybe one day we'll bring up some pictures that nobody should ever see.
I'm okay with not doing that.
But I can picture you as a door greeter at a church. I don't think anybody can picture me as a door greeter at a church.
Well, maybe as a bouncer.
Yeah, maybe. I'd run people off. People come in. What are you doing here?
Let me see some ID, kid.
Well, and that does kind of bring up a good point. I mean, so far we've kind of talked a little bit about our passions and kind of why we're in this and what we're kind of about, but we really haven't introed ourselves very much about kind of our background and some of the stuff that we've done. So this really isn't for us to kind of show off or anything like that. It's not to kind of flex. It's just to kind of let you know that we've been in the trenches for a while. And we've had just different roles as we've gone through, because I know I haven't been a church tech director through my entire career, and I know you haven't either. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you got started and kind of what you've done to bring you up to this spot?
Yeah. So I guess this is a good springboard into the testimony too on how God brought us here, right? One of the cool things about working for a church is you have suddenly a new perspective on why you're working. You and I both worked in the secular world in production, different environments, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but working for a church is totally different than any of that. And so especially if you're a volunteer, some of you are volunteering, and you have another job outside that you actually make money for, you'll know what I'm talking about. The stark difference between the two. Whereas one of them, you're making a product or you're selling a service or something like that. In this one, you're doing it through worship. So that kind of springboard nicely into this. My background is for about 7 to 10 years, I was in the film industry. I worked in Hollywood doing in the film industry here in Albuquerque, doing TV shows and movies, doing set design and lighting design for major shows like Better Call Saul, Longmire, Midnight Texas, Breaking Bad, those kind of things. And I loved it. It was great. But when I was It was awesome for a young guy. It was awesome for a young couple to go through that. But I had kids, I had a wife, and over time it was like, you know what? I can't be staying out 12 hours a day, living my dream. And it was perfect because I was living my dream. But toward the end, God really got a hold of my heart and saying, okay, you've accumulated all these skills. You've accumulated all these skills in the real world. Now it's time to work for me. Use your talents for me and my church. And it was really cool how God lined everything up to where, my home church is hiring a tech director. And I didn't know, squat about audio or video, but I had some really cool mentors over me, taking me under the wing and saying, you got this. You can figure this out. And so I've been, since 2016, I was hired full time, and I've moved up the chain multiple times into head of the department, and I moved into communications. I'm back into tech, and it's just been really cool to see how God had his hand in all of it. It wasn't anything I did. It wasn't because of my greatness or anything like that. It was totally him providing for his body through me. And then, so it was really cool to see how God did that. All right, your turn. What do you got?
I've held several different roles throughout my career, so I can't just say that I've been a tech director all the way through. I actually went to college to be a youth pastor. I took classes, got a bachelor's degree in theology with a minor in youth ministry, and I really thought that I was going to stay as a youth pastor for my entire career. And God just had other plans for me. And whenever I left, talked with my wife, we were kind of wrestling with some stuff, and left youth ministry, and I actually started managing a music store for a while. And I started noticing while I was there that there's just a lot of people inside of the church world that just didn't really have a background on sound or anything, but they were being kind of promoted as the head of their sound department or whatever in their churches, mostly small churches, but still inside of their churches. I jokingly say a lot of the sound guys inside of small churches are qualified because they're the ones to show up to church to turn the lights on, and that's why the church thinks they're qualified. So hey, well, they're there, let's just let them run sound. And that was kind of the feedback we got from the store. So we started a small group that was meeting for a little bit, and we started some classes to teach people how to run, and that was well received. Over a little bit of time, I took the plunge and I became a tech director at a church, and that moved me into a couple of different positions where I was actually at the same church Michael was at for a while there in Albuquerque. So Michael was working with me for a little bit. That's how we met and just developed a friendship there. Went on to another church for a little while where I was managing multi-sites for a little bit. And then left that position and started working in the production and doing live tours and just kind of going out and managing a video department. We did all kinds of stuff, worked for national tour acts, worked with small local bands, and we worked for MMA fights and just all kinds of good stuff, and had a blast doing it. So then it was time for me to kind of stop doing a lot of traveling and stop doing the 12-hour days, the 16-hour days, and all of that, and just kind of get more of a 9-to-5. So I actually started working for the federal government for a while, which is kind of weird. But I worked with a group out of Albuquerque called Sandia Labs, and I managed their auditoriums. So that was interesting. It was a good time to do that. Had a lot of stuff that I learned quickly, trial by fire, and a lot of that. And I was doing that while we were doing COVID. So the integration of video into what we were doing was a huge part of my job, and trying to figure out how to get all of this stuff that usually takes place in an auditorium to take place online. But we were also doing that behind, environments that people couldn't readily have access to. So what I was learning at the labs was the same thing a lot of other people were learning inside of their churches, which was, how are we going to make this presentation take place to a lot of people to be able to watch on an online environment? Over a little bit of time, federal work, just working for the government, that just wasn't a position that I wanted to stay in for a long period of time. and started praying about it, and God moved me out here to Lynchburg, and we've been here for 18 months now, and it's been going strong, and we've had a great crew, great team, great boss, and we've just been real happy out here. So that's kind of my background on where we've been and what we've done.
That's 10. So I've known you for about 10 years, and I was, that's a lot that happened between that time, man.
So if you think it was 2012, so that's been 12 years that we've known each other.
That's crazy.
That's scary, isn't it?
That means you're old, and I'm middle-aged. So you worked for the federal government. How different was that than working for a Baptist church?
Exactly the same.
That's what I thought. So Phil and I worked together out there. I did some contract work out there, and man, what a monster! And it just kind of goes to show in the tech world, and especially working for a church, when time gets hard. Especially those who have had positions outside, you're like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. I can make so much more money outside, and it's so much better not working for a church. And I'll tell you from two guys who have gone back and forth between the two, that working for God is so much better than working for any human. And I say that as a friend. I worked for Phil a couple times, and working for Jesus is much better. No offense.
No offense taken, as long as you're saying Jesus is better. So.
Yeah, I'll just end every conversation with Jesus is better than Phil, and we'll just go from there.
That could be a t-shirt. Jesus is better than Phil.
Guess what I will be wearing next week? So next month.
I'm going to design it and send it to you.
Okay.
And it'll be that meme of Jesus doing this.
Phil is like this. Jesus is like this.
I think it's the point. Say Jesus is better than Phil.
That's awesome. Yeah. So speaking of next month, we're gonna be posting about once a month, and I really want to encourage you guys to submit your comments and questions in the chat. That'll be something that we're gonna be pushing really hard as the community here on the channel. Because it can feel lonely, we want to make this an opportunity for you to be with other church tech guys and ask your questions, share your thoughts, and also share some of the experiences you're going through, especially coming out of Christmas. It's January now, and just the craziness of the season, just how draining it can feel. We for one, do a ton of Christmas productions and special Christmas stuff, and I know that a lot of you guys do that as well. And so just we want to talk about burnout, talk about your workload, talk about personal life, as well as volunteers, leadership, that kind of thing, setting boundaries. So yeah, enter some stuff in the chat, in the comments, because we want to talk about that over the next year or so when we do this.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely we do want to talk about tech, and we do want to get, into that realm and kind of dive into, what I'm using at my church, what Michael's using at his church, and, ways that we can make things better. But really, we want to help build a community across that's more than just about tech. We want to build where we've got the ability to exchange information, talk with each other, encourage each other, and help build each other up. Because this world can kind of be a lonely one whenever you're kind of there and you really don't have anybody you can bounce any ideas off, because you're considered the expert inside of your church on, everything tech related. And then you're diving through forums, or you're trying to get to somebody to get a question answered or something going on. And it's just kind of one of those experiences with a lot of frustration and everything else. We would love to be able to speak into that and help build some sort of a community that kind of partners with you inside of this, so that you've got places you can go to, you can lean on, and you can just say, hey, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z at my church. Has anybody done this? And be able to get somebody to just kind of step in and say, yeah, I've done it. This is how I've done it successfully. And then you can start exchanging information. So our comment section, I know we keep on saying it, sorry to be a broken record. Our comment section is going to be real important. Hopefully we're going to have some more stuff coming up in the future that's going to allow us to be able to connect a little bit differently as well. But hit subscribe, hit your notifications so that all that type of stuff goes on like you hear everybody on YouTube say. But also, please make comments down there in the section. Questions, introduce yourself. Man, we would love to just know about you, who this is actually reaching out to. Or, are we reaching? Are we making an impact in people's lives? Put your information down there, not phone numbers, obviously, not contact information, but just let us know. Hey, I'm a church director, in whatever state, and I'm going to be tuning in. Something as simple as that. Or, I'm just a sound guy that's running sound over here at this place, and I'm going to be reaching in. So just leave something down in the comments letting us know, and we would greatly appreciate it. And we're going to do the best we can to try to engage in those comments.
Yeah. And be sure to tune in almost every month, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reading those comments and hopefully featuring them on the show. And then also, too, it doesn't matter what size of congregation you have or what kind of gear you've got. I found, especially I do some consulting on the side, working with smaller groups and smaller ministries and smaller churches too. And a lot of them are embarrassed by the gear they have just because the budget they have. It's so low that you can't buy an Avid, or you can't buy an Allen Heath S7000, or you can't buy a Digico. You've got a Mackie or a Behringer X32. And one of the things that we want to break down is the wall that says you gotta have great tech to have community, or if you're a small church, you're not worth anything. And that's so not true. That is so not true. I want to build the community so that way, if it is a small church or a massive mega church, that we're all working together. That's what I want.
Yeah, and I feel that as well. I mean, just. I'm talking with a buddy of mine right now that's doing a church plant up in kind of a frontier area, and they don't have a whole lot of money to throw whatsoever at all. They're just kind of in the processes, and we're setting up right now kind of an A system, and then later on, I'm calling it a short-term system and then a long-term system. So, and it's just going to fit their needs. It's going to do what they need it to do, and then kind of move forward from there. So even just with that, hopefully his tech is going to be tuning in. So if you're on, you know who you are. I'm glad that you're kind of tuning in on this. So we'd love to come alongside you. We'd love to help you. Please understand our heart. We're here because we want to minister to people. We're not here to sell. I'm not here to come out and say, I don't work for Behringer. I don't work for Yamaha. I don't work for Mackie or any of these other companies. So I don't want to come in here and try to sell you a whole bunch of gear because I don't work for any of these people. What I want to do is I want to come in and try to figure out how your gear can fit your needs best. And if we can help you do that, man, we'd love to help you do that. Nothing would brighten my day better than to be able to do that. And I've got a bunch of resources, a bunch of contacts of people that I can give you to reach out to, and they can help kind of design stuff and consult with you as well, if you want to talk with somebody else as well. So please allow us to be able to help you, allow us to build a community, and allow us to be able to just kind of use our resources to help you and your church as well.
Yeah. Well, something that would be really cool is if we say, if someone comments in the chat, I'm from a small church in Iowa and I need some help. And if someone else in Iowa who's well equipped in that area to say, I can totally help you out, give me a call, send a DM or something like that, that would be outstanding, because then suddenly we are connecting you guys together through this, and we're not even in Iowa, And so it would just be great to connect people through that way, the magic of the internet, right?
Yeah. It would make our day. It would brighten our day to see that you are utilizing this as a resource for yourself, and that God is being able to be, number one, glorified in what we're doing, but two, also that the church is being able to be equipped, and that we're able to help out the local churches, because that's really our heart. That's really what we're about. So I think this has been a good episode for us for our inaugural episode. If this is your first time watching, put it in the comments.
I mean, it's not bad for voyage number one.
But seriously, we would love to be able to reach out to you. We'd love to be able to communicate with you in the comment section. And hopefully we'll get other platforms that we'll be able to reach out to soon. And we'll also be able to engage with you in other areas as well. So,
Yeah. And we will see you in about a month. So stay tuned. And remember, don't forget to subscribe because we will be posting about once a month. Well, thanks again. My name is Michael.
and I'm Phil.
And we'll see you next month here at Church Tech Live. Take care.